I thought it was all over.
The main thing that I want to talk about today is Saudi Pro League. They've obviously got Neymar, they've got Ronaldo, they've got some great pieces. We're going to get into it, talk about them, exactly what's going on with their league. We're actually doing a live reaction right now of 442's video on the Saudi Pro League. Very excited for it. Shout out to them. I'll make sure to give them credit in this video and everything like that, but let's get it going. Again, if you're a big soccer fan, 442 is a great channel. Please go follow them. They are absolutely amazing. I look forward to watching all their videos, and I hope to do a collab one day with them down the road. But let's get back to it.
Has signed for Saudi Pro League team alai. A simple statement in a summer transfer window, and one that, on the face of it, has all the hallmarks of an aging European star simply leaving the continent for one final payday. But the reality is that this and the other big name
Oh yeah, it's going to be big. I mean, they offered Messi over $1 billion, Ronaldo, Neymar, Benzema. I mean, there's going to be a few guys that really go out there and make big old bucks out there. To be honest, I did a video, a little shout out, that I thought James Harden would be the first one to join the Saudi Pro League for basketball. So just something to think about as well.
Acquisitions that are about to follow him into the country actually mark a serious power shift within the global footballing market. One that, whether people like it or not, is specifically designed to change the sport forever. This is how Saudi Arabia is secretly conquering football.
It's not a secret.
On November 22nd last year, the Saudi Arabian national team came from a goal behind to beat the eventual world champions Argentina. It was unarguably one of the most shocking results in the entire history of the World Cup.
It absolutely was. What a game. What a win. Hey, you can win on your best day. Saudi is going to have a team that continually grows, especially their homegrown pro league. And they're obviously World Cup team. So I'm very excited for that. It's just going to take time. Saudi Arabia is probably 15, 20 years before being able to really contend at any high level, but they'll be able to contend at least by eliminating it, or at least winning a few of these random games.
Cup, and under normal circumstances, would have represented the biggest thing to happen to Saudi football for a generation. However, it held that status for barely 6 weeks. A mere 48 days later, Cristiano Ronaldo tore up his contract at Manchester United and was unveiled as the newest signing for Saudi club Al Nassr. He did so, though, to an online chorus of laughs and derision. Here was one of the game's best players, still thinking himself an elite athlete, going to play in the 68th biggest league in the world. But as we will see this summer, Ronaldo was merely the first major name in what's designed to be an explosive and disruptive period of growth for football.
Yep, and so this is going to be where you're going to see it. You're going to see the deviation. You're either going to see players going to the MLS, which we're seeing with Messi and a few of those guys that really want to kind of help build the MLS and see that grow more, or guys that are going to take the money and help the Saudi league grow. Now, obviously, the MLS is a little bit ahead of the Saudi league when it comes to total viewership and everything like that. But if you continue this, Neymar, Ronaldo, and all those guys headed out to the Saudi league, I can absolutely see that becoming a must-watch league and a top-tier league. But obviously, there is going to be that caveat of that it's going to be run by basically all the older, retired, or about to retire players that are just trying to get their last, few squeezes of the juice before they get it. So
in Saudi Arabia, one that's now financed by the country's own sovereign wealth fund and could thus start to challenge.
Just a crazy thing. They bought Newcastle. They put in bids at everything. So this Saudi investment fund, wealth fund, whatever you want to call it, the Saudi fund is going to be a huge deal for a very long time. So this man is going to invest a lot in sports. I think there's a few sports he needs to really look at in the future, but I think soccer's a great bridge into that. Obviously, with, again, the acquisition of Newcastle, it makes it much easier, but we'll see.
The top leagues in Europe almost immediately. Ronaldo is already there. Benzema, the reigning Ballon d'Or holder, is now set to join him. But this is only the beginning. Chelsea's N'Golo Kante has also reportedly signed a deal within the league. Wilfried Zaha looks to be leaving Crystal Palace and has a Saudi offer on the table. Roberto Firmino and Sergio Busquets, free agents after leaving Liverpool and Barcelona respectively, have allegedly been approached. Luka Modric, Pepe and Sergio Ramos have all held talks on joining former teammate Ronaldo. Neymar's representatives have spoken to a number of clubs in the league. Son Heung-min and Ilkay Gundogan apparently.
Obviously, we know that this video is a little bit behind, but Neymar did actually sign that deal. Some of these other ones, and Kante, Son, we just saw Kane. We just saw Harry Kane get transferred to Bayern Munich, I'm pretty sure.
Apparently
So
both consider it a viable option if their next move can't guarantee them Champions League football, and the list just goes on and on and on, despite the European season having barely finished. And then there's Lionel Messi, still regarded as the greatest player.
just happened to win a MLS title. Actually knocked out my Charlotte FC, and then we actually came back and was able to win a game against them. So I'm really happy. I think he's going to absolutely make the MLS explode, just like he already has. It's just going to keep going and going and going. Dude's going to win the MVP this year in the MLS. I guarantee it. You can put your money down. It's done. So just watch out. This is going to be a big deal, Messi in the MLS. I'm not sure if he's going to touch on it, but he obviously deal's done, already won the title and all. So.
In the world by some, and forever considered the greatest player who ever lived by many, the Argentinian isn't just already in bed with Saudi Arabia, he's firmly under the covers, counting his money with a torch. Signed by the nation's sovereign wealth fund to be a global ambassador for the country itself, Messi's relationship with
Yes, he did do that. So he does do Instagram posts and stuff like that, but he did not sign with Saudi Arabia. He ended up obviously taking the ridiculous Apple MLS deal, which is going to make him so much money. It's stupid.
Both the management and fans of Paris Saint-Germain reached the point of no return over a trip he made to the country. Failing to seek permission from his manager, and in the wake of an embarrassing home defeat, his social media was flooded with carefully choreographed holiday snaps in Riyadh while he was supposed to be at training. And if you're wondering how a player with his alleged dedication and professionalism thought this was somehow okay, then keep in mind that whatever astronomical sum of money he was receiving from his club was dwarfed by the one he was receiving from his hosts. He took that trip because it would have been financially stupid not to. The same logic they were hoping would apply to him this very summer, with an alleged $1.9 billion contract offered to play his football there next season. But despite missing out on Messi to MLS, the Saudi Pro League believe, with good reason, that they can be one of the top 10 biggest leagues in the world and a genuine attraction for the game.
Absolutely agree with him. The money is going to be ridiculous. It's going to draw players. It's going to do it. It's just, at what point does it become too much money that they just don't want to do it anymore? Like, are they really willing to spend $500 billion to bring over hundreds or thousands of former players over the course of, say, a 5 or a 10-year period where you could legitimately make it a top-tier league? I think you could. And I think that those lower level contracts would definitely be getting more money, incentivizing lower level players that would develop to go to Saudi Arabia and then obviously get the bag once they, can obviously develop into who they want to become, who they're destined to become, or whatever. So I think this is going to be an ongoing problem for soccer, for many sports. I think they're going to start trying to buy up many more things, including football teams and everything like that. So just watch out. Watch out for these guys. Watch out for the money. We're going to see a lot of these players move.
Game's top players and managers, all within the next few years. And where we've seen this before with aging superstars squeezing the last of their careers in MLS, or players still in their prime opting to take life-changing money from a move to the Chinese league, this is very different. It's on a whole other scale entirely, and it's all because of how it's funded. Throughout the rest of the world, football clubs are private enterprises. By and large, they need to generate money in order to be able to spend it, or else get lumbered with the sort of debt that ultimately sees things go very, very wrong for them. Even in the US, where the teams are owned by the league, MLS still has to generate the bulk of the money that goes into buying players or expanding clubs, effectively keeping it all within its means. But in May, that all changed for the Saudi League when the division's big four, Al Ittihad, Al Nasser, Al Ahly, and Al Hilal, were all collectively taken over by the country's sovereign wealth fund, PIF. This means that they now have access to near limitless financial resources and are already able to offer wages way in excess.
Which is how this is going to change. Now, personally, out of these teams, I'm going to pick Al Hilal as a team that I'm personally going to really watch. They're the one that did secure Neymar. I love Ronaldo. Obviously, Messi could have been a great addition, but I just think that this is going to change sports as a whole. So really, really watch out for where these guys are buying up, and these funds are buying up giant teams and organizations. They bought Live Golf. So there's going to be a lot of changes here soon. And if this money keeps getting thrown around, they're eventually going to get it all. So
success of all but the very top European clubs. The idea being that by using the country's near bottomless pit of development money to bring in some of football's biggest names, they immediately improve both the quality and the status of the league. This, of course, creates a two-tier league of financial disparity between those four clubs and the rest of the division, but there isn't a major league in the world where that hasn't just happened naturally. But if the name PIF rings a bell to you though, then it should. It's the state-owned sovereign wealth fund that's been behind the Newcastle United takeover, and more recently...
Just brought that up. Newcastle and Liv. This is not going to be a normal takeover. This is going to be a big deal. And I hate the idea that some people are saying, oh, well, I don't like you because you took the money. Some people are being offered a amount of money that they will not make in their entire career for a 2-year deal. Like, it is bananas, some of the dollars being thrown out. So I don't fault them. I obviously understand the human side of it. I understand all of that. But $700 million is hard for a lot of people to turn down. $100 million is hard for a lot of people to turn down. So I don't understand this going from $30 million a year or $40, $50 million with PSG to making $160 million a year. Yeah, no offense, that's a really easy decision for many people. So just think about that as well. The other side of it, which is the rest of their lives.
Change the entire face of golf forever by merging its live venture with that of the PGA and DP World Tours. It is not an organisation that invests in something without ambitions to dominate it. Huge stakes have been acquired in Disney, Starbucks, WWE, Uber and countless others as it works on its mission to diversify the country's portfolio away from just simply being an oil state and rebrand Saudi Arabia's image on a world stage. And this is where...
That's going to be tough regardless. They're using sports as a segue. I understand that. There's obviously much more social, political, the whole nine. I'm not going to get into that, but I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring themselves in the 21st century. They're trying to get rid of the previous stigma, but obviously it's going to be there for a very long time. They're just hoping to dull the ache of many people to bring them to Saudi Arabia to play in these leagues.
The controversy starts. The Saudi Arabian human rights record should appall anyone who takes the time to learn about it. Homosexuality is considered a crime in the country and is punishable by deportation, life imprisonment, public flogging, and even death. Women's rights, while improving, are still severely restricted, and the country is listed as one of the worst in the world for its attitudes on civil liberty and freedom of speech. In 2023 alone, the country has already broken its record for the number of arrests made over political activism and dissent towards the government. While there is always an argument over how much relevance this should have to the sporting institutions its state-backed wealth fund has its tendrils in, the difference here is that the obfuscation is largely the point. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 project is, if you'll pardon the pun, the jewel in the crown of Prince Mohammed bin Salman's modernization revolution. He wants to secure the
I see what you did there with the crown jewel.
Country's future as a major player on the world stage by not only fostering enormous investment in a wide range of national enterprises, but by making it a popular tourist destination with visitors from the West. To do both of these things, it needs to fit in with European and American ideologies, as well as routinely showcase.
That's going to be the hard part. There's such a disconnect between the West and then obviously that whole area of the Middle East. So I think that's going to be a very, very big jump for them. But I think that their investment in outside things, meaning investments in social media companies, investments in Disney, like they're saying, and everything like that, is eventually going to slowly change the country. It's just more of, is the country ready or even willing to change? Because I think that the addition of so many Western ideals is going to, present some problems, obviously, with the whole police thing and their crackdowns. That's obviously a whole separate argument, but it's going to be a really big uphill battle. But if anything can have money thrown at it, they are expecting this, because they basically don't need to worry about the actual money. They can just throw away whatever they need. Beautiful shot, but I don't know.
That it's culturally on a similar wavelength. Thus, the country's greatest resource, its wealth, is pumped into Disney. It's pumped into Starbucks. It's pumped into golf. It's pumped into WWE. And it's pumped in increasing volumes into football. Investing in teams like Newcastle gives them a seat at both the Premier League and now the Champions League table, sure, but having a league that's exported around the world because it's home to some of the biggest players is infinitely more valuable. But the story here that often goes unreported is the local one. Saudi Arabia has a booming population that is increasingly young, affluent, digitally and culturally switched on, and that has a serious appetite for the entertainment it sees from the West. But it's also one that, as the spotlight spotlight on the nation is intensified, is growing bolder in voicing its disquiet over the obvious social disparities it sees between what rights they have and what the rest of the world enjoys. This might sound incredibly oversimplified, but investing billions into giving the country one of the best football leagues in the world, where fans can see players like Ronaldo and Benzema every single week, is, in part, designed to placate some of this discontent. And just like...
And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not meant to cure it. It's just meant to dull it. It's just like, oh, hey, we're getting this, we're getting that. The money obviously was able to, again, dull the senses of a lot of the things that players may not agree with, and therefore being in the country cannot voice. So just something to think about. I could not agree more with this so far. Very excited to see what the league is going to do, and I didn't even know they were invested in WWE, so that's even more.
Like hosting major WWE shows or a Formula One Grand Prix or opening a Six Flags amusement park, it will, to some extent, work. In purely footballing terms, though, it's also seen as being a major boost to the country's hopes of hosting one of the next World Cups. The league's biggest club, Al Ittihad, commands an average attendance of over 40,000 fans, but the rest of the division regularly sees 4 figures through the gates, despite having capacity for 5. Cristiano Ronaldo's arrival at Al Nassr took their average attendance from around 7,000 to nearly 20,000, and the hope is that by adding global talent throughout the league, every other club can see something similar. After the awards to Russia and Qatar, FIFA will undoubtedly face major scrutiny over its next set of choices, and Saudi Arabia elevating its own domestic...
Side note, something that I saw recently was somebody inside the FIFA organization said that they actually prefer working in countries where they have an authoritarian leader because they have less red tape. I thought that was absolutely crazy thing for somebody to basically come out and say. But yeah, I do think that Saudi Arabia will get a World Cup. I just don't think anytime soon. If we do, then obviously we know what's going on. But they will get a World Cup. It's just a matter of when.
League to the point of global legitimacy offsets this enormously. This, combined with talk of a joint bid between Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Greece, not only gives FIFA a combined African, Asian and European tournament that would be immensely appealing, but increases Saudi relations and relevance in both of those territories. From this to public perception, to investment opportunities, to a worldwide national rebrand, the value to Saudi Arabia of attracting these top players goes way in excess of the undeniably enormous sums of money they're going to be paying them. And make no mistake, that is money that will alter the transfer market in Europe irrevocably. All of a sudden, players entering their final years who clubs might be reluctant to offer big wages to suddenly have a possible market that offers resale value. Emerging clubs can even...
And that's the thing. We're going to see a lot of these guys, especially the guys that are the fringe one. Watch a lot of this talent that's like 22, 24. It's almost the guy, but maybe the team's not giving them the opportunity for the Saudi League to be like, here's $75 million a year. You want to come play with us? And then they take those talents over there and start destroying. I think that they're going to start offering younger and younger players as time goes on. They obviously offered Mbappe and everything, but he's not going to leave, at least as of right now. I think he should, but that's a whole separate thing. Yeah, I mean, if they were to offer me $1 billion, I'd be out the door, no problem. But it's different for these guys. They have a lot of legacy. They have a lot of things that they want to accomplish. They want to be successful in the Premier League, win, championships, and do the whole nine. And I understand that. There's also, again, going to be those people that chase that title, money title. Of like richest player and everything like that. You always have those in every league. Some people don't want to win. They just want to be rich. So you're going to see that. I think that people are just going to get really upset in the moment when you should have just understood that it's somebody else's life. And I understand we're all fans of the sport, but if a player wants to go someplace else, they deserve that opportunity. Everyone deserves the opportunity to move, to have control over their own lives and everything like that. So for this reason, I'm totally fine, again, with people going to the Saudi League. I just think people need to be ready because it's going to come quickly, and it's going to come with a lot of these older players, especially in the next 3 years. I guarantee that we're going to see at least 10 huge names switching over to that league. Modric, I think, is going to be pretty high on that list as well.
Target sales of prize assets to the league as a way to circumvent their own FFP rules. But while both the reality and the impact of this change will only be fully apparent in time, one thing is already set in stone. This is football's part in the biggest PR campaign in human history, and it's one that will have both sporting and cultural repercussions across the planet. Whether you call it modernization or sports washing or both, this isn't a
Washing.
story that's simply going to go away, and it's one that every football fan will ultimately have a stake in. Saudi investment will undeniably be good for the game, we'll be told, but whether that means it's good for football is a different question entirely.
This is Nick with Roll Coverage. I'm going to get out of here. We just reacted to the Saudi Wealth Fund, the Saudi Wealth Fund infused Saudi Pro League. Again, I am going to be covering this league on a weekly basis. I haven't decided what day we're going to do it, but we are going to be covering their best goals, players, transactions, and everything like that. So look out for that in the future. Like I said, I'm personally going to lean more towards an Al Halal. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I will get better. But regardless, I'm really excited for this. Again, check out 442. They are literally one of the best channels I have found on YouTube. They're so informative, so amazing. I will make sure to put their link and everything in the description. I will make sure to do everything. Shout out to you guys. Again, this is Nick. Have a great day.